How to Pray According to the Teachings of Jesus, Part 1, The Inner Chamber. For centuries, religious institutions have transformed prayer into a public performance, a complex transactional formula, or a desperate plea to appease an unseen deity. Yet, when examining the direct teachings recorded in the Gospels, most notably in Matthew 6, Jesus systematically dismantled these external constructs. He introduced an approach to communion that turned conventional religion on its head. To understand how to pray according to his authentic instruction, one must first strip away the public theater and learn the art of turning inward. 1. Close the external door. In Matthew 6:5-6, the core directive is explicit. When you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by men. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is unseen. The primary step in authentic prayer is the total shutdown of external performance. In the material world, religious status and public piety act as social currency. Seeking approval, status, or emotional validation through prayer exhausts its purpose at the physical level. You receive whatever temporary social recognition you sought, and nothing more. Going into your room and closing the door is both a physical action and an internal orientation. It means stepping away from the noise of the physical environment, silencing the demands of social expectations, and closing the senses to the outer simulation. True prayer begins only when you cut off the desire to impress, perform, or be validated by human audiences. 2. Abandon repetitive formulas and babbling. The second major instruction targets the mechanics of transactional magic. In verse 7, Jesus warns, "And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words." Conventional matrix practices often rely on heavy repetition, endless incantations, emotional begging, and prolonged rituals designed to coerce or manipulate spiritual forces into action. Jesus explicitly rejects this formula. Prayer is not an endurance test of how many words you can speak, nor is it a legalistic negotiation where specific phrases force an outcome. The belief that volume, duration, or ritualistic repetition grants special audience before the unseen source is an illusion. 3. Shift from petition to recognition. Perhaps the most radical statement in this passage appears in verse 8. Your Father knows what you need before you ask him. If the source already possesses absolute awareness of your state and needs before a single word is formed, then prayer cannot be about informing an external entity of your problems or begging for crumbs. Transactional begging reinforces a psychological state of lack. It starts from the premise that you are separate, forgotten, and defective. Authentic prayer, as taught by Jesus, shifts the paradigm from petition to recognition. It is not an effort to change the mind of an external deity, but an internal alignment with the unseen source. You do not pray to be heard through frantic pleading. You quiet the biological mind to realize that the connection is already complete. By stepping into the quiet chamber of your own awareness and leaving the public theater behind, prayer becomes an anchor of deep, unshakable stillness. How to Pray According to the Teachings of Jesus, Part 2, The Sovereign Alignment. If Part 1 established the environment of prayer, closing the outer door, shedding public performance, and abandoning repetitive babbling, Part 2 addresses the internal operational state. Once the noise of the physical world is silenced, how does one actually commune with the unseen source? In the continuation of his teaching, Jesus provides a radical blueprint that shifts prayer from a desperate plea for survival into an act of sovereign alignment. 1. Reclaiming the unseen origin. Traditional religion conditions the mind to treat the divine as a distant, intimidating monarch sitting atop a cosmic hierarchy, a ruler who must be appeased through fearful groveling. Jesus completely rewrites this dynamic by instructing believers to address the source simply as "Our Father in Heaven." This phrasing is not merely a warm metaphor, it is an ontological declaration. It asserts that your true origin is not derived from the dense, mechanical laws of the material earth, but from the uncreated light of the unseen realm, heaven. By addressing the source as Father, you step out of the identity of an abandoned, helpless victim trapped in physical suffering, and step into the identity of an heir directly connected to the ultimate source of life. You do not approach the unseen source as a beggar approaching a stranger, but as a child returning to its true home. 2. Aligning will above the simulation. The central pivot of authentic prayer lies in the statement, "Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven." In mainstream transactional practice, people routinely use prayer to impose their physical ego's demands onto the universe, demanding immediate material windfalls, personal comfort, or the bending of physical laws to suit temporary desires. Authentic prayer operates in the exact opposite direction. It recognizes that the material plane, earth, is a place of heavy friction, density, and temporary scripts, whereas the unseen origin, heaven, is a realm of absolute harmony, completeness, and perfection. Praying for the unseen reality to manifest on earth is an active operational alignment. It means downloading the stillness, power, and perfection of the uncreated source into your daily physical execution. You cease fighting the chaotic currents of the material matrix with panic and force. Instead, you anchor yourself so deeply in the unseen realm that your physical life begins to reflect that internal order. 3. Cold sufficiency and freedom from anxiety. When addressing physical needs, the instruction remains remarkably simple and brief. Give us today our daily bread. Notice the absolute absence of hoarding, panic, or long-term existential anxiety in this request. Jesus does not teach hours of pleading for decades of material excess or future guarantees within the simulation. He reduces physical need to its absolute baseline, daily sufficiency. This directly targets the core mechanism the material grid uses to trap human consciousness, fear of tomorrow. By focusing strictly on the present moment's provision, you cut off the supply of anxiety, debt panic, and future dread that keeps the mind bound in survival mode. You acknowledge that the biological vehicle requires baseline maintenance today, while keeping your primary focus anchored in the eternal, uncreated light of the present. Through this sovereign alignment, prayer becomes a state of quiet, unshakable power.